I never thought my self-made success as a tech entrepreneur would be reduced to a wine stain and humiliation. Building my company from nothing was nothing compared to the shock of meeting Amanda Thompson's billionaire family. When her mother Victoria threw wine in my face and sneered, "That's to disinfect a poor man. Her monthly expense allowance is $140,000. I expected my fiancée to defend me. Instead, Amanda laughed along with her parents. That's when I calmly wiped my face and said the words that changed everything. "I'm canceling all business with your company, effective immediately." Before I tell you how I turned this humiliating moment into the best decision of my life, let me know where you're watching from. And hit subscribe if you've ever been judged for your background rather than your character. I grew up in a blue-collar neighborhood on the outskirts of Detroit where hard work was the currency of respect. My father clocked 30 years at the local auto plant, coming home with grease-stained hands that told the story of honest labor. My mother worked night shifts as a hospital nurse, often sleeping just 4 hours between her job and taking care of our family. They taught me that character and work ethic mattered more than the brand of clothes on your back. From an early age, I showed an entrepreneurial streak that baffled my practically minded parents. At 12, I started mowing lawns in our neighborhood, saving every dollar in a metal box under my bed. By 15, I was fixing computers for neighbors and local businesses, learning through trial and error before YouTube tutorials existed. My parents supported my ventures, but constantly reminded me to keep my feet on the ground. "Money comes and goes," Dale, my father would say, "but your reputation follows you forever." College was never a given in our household. I worked through high school, saving every penny, eventually securing a partial scholarship to Michigan State. Even with the scholarship, I juggled 3 part-time jobs: morning shifts at the campus cafeteria, weekend work at a local computer repair shop, and late nights delivering pizzas. Between shifts, I taught myself coding and network architecture, often falling asleep with technical manuals as my pillow. During my senior year, I launched what would become Skyward Solutions from my cramped apartment using a folding table as a desk. My first office was a tiny rented space above a laundromat, with unreliable internet, and a bathroom shared with 3 other small businesses. The early days were brutal. Twice in that first year, I came within days of bankruptcy, surviving on ramen noodles and pure determination. I slept on a futon in the office to save rent money. My breakthrough came when I landed Midwest Manufacturing as my first major client. They took a chance on my small company because their IT director saw something in my detailed proposal that the big firms had missed. That contract allowed me to hire my first 2 employees and move to a legitimate office space. From there, we gradually built our reputation for personalized service and innovative solutions that the larger, more bureaucratic firms couldn't match. 7 years of grinding work later, Skyward Solutions employed 32 people and served clients across the Midwest. We specialized in custom IT infrastructure for medium to large businesses, with a growing reputation for solving problems others couldn't. That's how we ended up bidding on a contract with Thomson Enterprises, a multinational corporation with fingers in everything from real estate to technology manufacturing. I had no idea when we secured the Thomson contract that I would soon be personally connected to the family behind the company. The Thomson name was on buildings and charity wings, but I had never seen the faces that went with the fortune. Our contract with them grew steadily over 2 years, until they represented nearly 30% of our annual revenue. It was a game-changing client, but I never allowed myself to become complacent. I met Amanda at a charity gala where Skyward was donating IT services as part of our community outreach program. I was troubleshooting the event's digital donation system when she approached, curious about the process. Amanda Thompson was striking, with dark hair, intelligent eyes, and a confidence that came from never questioning her place in the world. What surprised me was how genuinely interested she seemed in understanding the technical aspects of what I was doing. "Most people's eyes glaze over when I start talking about secure payment protocols," I told her. "I'm not most people," she replied, with a smile that would change the course of my life. Our relationship developed quickly. Amanda was sophisticated and worldly, in ways I wasn't, having grown up traveling between family homes in New York, London, and Hong Kong. She spoke 3 languages and had attended schools with names that sounded like law firms. Yet she seemed refreshingly down to earth, laughing easily and showing genuine interest in my background. The differences in our lifestyles became apparent on our 3rd date when she suggested dinner at a restaurant where entrees cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I explained my discomfort with such expenses, expecting her to be put off. Instead, she seemed charmed by what she called my fiscal responsibility and suggested a neighborhood pizza place instead. Still, she insisted on paying, saying it was only fair since she had chosen the original restaurant. As months passed, I noticed worrying patterns. Amanda's idea of reasonable spending remained wildly different from mine. A casual shopping trip would result in bags of designer clothes purchased without even checking price tags. When I expressed concern, she would dismiss it. "It's just money, Dale. You work too hard to worry about such things." "That's exactly why I worry about them," I would respond, but she would just kiss me and change the subject. Despite dating for over a year, Amanda was strangely reluctant to introduce me to her family. She deflected my questions with vague comments about their busy travel schedules or her father's demanding business commitments. When I finally met her friends, all from similar wealthy backgrounds, they seemed surprised by my presence, exchanging glances that made me feel like an exhibit in a museum. When I proposed to Amanda after 16 months together, using a ring that represented 3 months of my salary, rather than the standard 2, she seemed genuinely moved. The engagement seemed to force the issue of family introductions, and she finally agreed to a dinner with her parents at their estate outside the city. "They can be a bit much," she warned as we drove there. "Just follow my lead, and try not to take anything personally." What followed was a crash course in how to present myself, what topics to avoid, how to address her parents, which fork to use for which course. As we pulled through the gates of their estate, I began to understand why she had been so hesitant to introduce us. The property was larger than the entire block where I grew up, with manicured gardens and a house that resembled a small hotel more than a home. What Amanda didn't know was that just that morning I had received notification that Thompson Enterprises had increased their contract with Skyward by another 15%. I had no idea I was about to meet the family behind those signatures, or that by the end of the night, I would be walking away from the largest client my company had ever secured. The Thompson estate was intimidating by design. A uniformed security guard checked our names at the gate before allowing us to drive up the winding tree-lined driveway. The house itself was an enormous Georgian-style mansion, with columns flanking the entrance. A butler greeted us at the door, taking my coat with white-gloved hands, and a barely perceptible assessment of its department store quality. "Your parents upgraded the Renoir," Amanda commented, casually gesturing toward what I now realized was an original painting hanging in the entrance hall like it was a family photo. Richard Thompson met us in what they called the small sitting room, though it was larger than my entire first apartment. He was tall and lean, with silver hair, and the confident posture of someone who had never questioned his authority in a room. His handshake was brief and cool, his eyes evaluating me like I was a company he was considering acquiring, then dismantling. "So you're in computers," he said, not quite a question. "Information technology, infrastructure, and security," I clarified. "My company, Skyward Solutions, works with businesses to build custom networks and protection systems." "Small operation, is it?" he asked, already, seeming bored with the answer before I could give it. Victoria Thompson made her entrance 10 minutes later, descending the stairs in a designer dress that probably cost more than my car. Diamonds glittered at her throat, and ears catching the light with each calculated movement. Where Richard projected power, Victoria exuded judgment. Her smile never reached her eyes as she extended her hand to me, not to shake, but to be kissed. A gesture I awkwardly attempted after Amanda nudged me. "Amanda tells us you're a businessman," Victoria said, emphasizing the word in a way that made it sound like a curious hobby rather than a profession. "I founded and run an IT consulting firm," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "How quaint. Self-made, are you?" The question dripped with condescension. Pre-dinner drinks in the sitting room felt like an interrogation. Richard questioned me about my business growth strategies, while clearly having no idea that his own company was one of my biggest clients. Victoria focused on my background, asking pointed questions about my parents' occupations and my education that were thinly veiled assessments of my social standing. Most disturbing was Amanda's transformation. The woman who had laughed easily with me, who had seemed to value my perspective and background, now mimicked her mother's tight smile and joined in their subtle ridicule. When Victoria made a comment about the necessary roughness of working-class neighborhoods, Amanda laughed as though it was the most insightful observation she had ever heard. Dinner was served in a formal dining room, beneath a crystal chandelier that probably cost as much as my company's first-year revenue. The table setting was a maze of silverware and crystal that Amanda had attempted to prepare me for, but seeing it in person was still overwhelming. A personal chef announced each course in French, serving tiny portions of elaborately prepared food on hand-painted china. The proper breeding shows in the smallest details, Victoria commented, as she noted my hesitation over which fork to use. It's something money simply cannot buy, no matter how many etiquette books one reads. I attempted to steer the conversation toward common ground, mentioning a charity that I knew Thompson Enterprises supported, and that Skyward had recently begun working with. Small businesses love to play at philanthropy, Richard cut in. It gives the appearance of success without the substance. Real impact requires scale, something that takes generations to build. The nouveau riche entrepreneurs are adorable, with their little causes, Victoria added, like children playing at being adults. As the main course arrived, Victoria turned her full attention to me. So, Dale, let's not dance around the subject any longer. What exactly is your net worth? Amanda has been uncharacteristically vague about your financial situation. The directness of the question caught me off guard. Amanda looked down at her plate, suddenly very interested in her barely touched food. I decided honesty was my only option. My company has grown significantly from humble beginnings, I explained. We started in a tiny office with just myself, and now employ 32 people with clients across 12 states. Our growth trajectory has been about 40% year over year, though we reinvest most profits back into the business. Victoria's face contorted as though I had described something obscene. Without warning, she threw the contents of her wine glass directly into my face. The red liquid splashed across my cheeks and dripped down onto my shirt, staining the white fabric instantly. That's to disinfect a poor man, she declared, with a cruel laugh. Her monthly expense allowance is $140,000. What could you possibly offer my daughter? The shock of the wine was nothing compared to what happened next. Amanda laughed. It wasn't nervous or uncomfortable laughter, but a genuine sound of amusement at my humiliation. She made no move to help me, or defend me, as I sat there, wine dripping from my chin onto my ruined shirt. In that moment, everything became clear. I calmly took my napkin and wiped my face, considering my response carefully. I had built my business on principles and relationships, values clearly absent in this household. I made my decision. I'm canceling all business with your company effective immediately, I said quietly. Richard's fork clattered against his plate. What did you say, Skyward Solutions? My company. We currently handle 30% of Thompson Enterprises' IT infrastructure, including your recent security upgrade. As of tomorrow morning, we will be terminating our contract. The color drained from Richard's face as he finally connected the dots. You're that, Skyward. Victoria looked confused, then alarmed as she glanced between her husband and me. Amanda, did you know about this? Richard demanded, his voice sharp. I didn't know his company worked with daddies. She stammered suddenly, looking much younger and less confident. I stood up, placed my napkin beside my plate, and buttoned my jacket over my wine-stained shirt. Thank you for dinner. It's been illuminating, I said, turning to walk out. Now wait just a minute. Richard began pushing back from the table. Amanda called after me. Dale, don't be dramatic. Come back and sit down. I kept walking through the formal dining room past the original Renoir and out into the cool night air, my decision made and my dignity intact despite the stained shirt and wounded heart. The drive home from the Thompson estate gave me time to process what had just happened. My shirt was ruined, the red wine setting into a stain that would never come out, much like the memory of Amanda's laughter joining her mother's cruelty. The humiliation burned, but beneath it was a clarity I hadn't felt in months. The relationship had been built on a foundation as solid as smoke. I called my business partner Jacob from the car, using the hands-free system as I navigated back toward the city. We need to initiate contract termination with Thompson Enterprises first thing tomorrow, I said without preamble. What? They're 30% of our revenue, Dale. Did something happen with the security implementation? Jacob's voice was understandably alarmed. I just had dinner with Richard Thompson and his family. It turns out Amanda's father is that Thompson. I'll explain everything tomorrow, but this is non-negotiable. Start the paperwork tonight. Back at my downtown apartment, I sent formal notification to the contacts we had at Thompson Enterprises, citing Contract Clause 23B, which allowed for termination with 30 days' notice. I knew it would create chaos for them as their systems were mid-transition to our architecture, but professionalism demanded I follow proper procedures despite the personal affront. My phone began ringing almost immediately with Amanda's calls, which I sent to voicemail. Text messages followed. You're overreacting. Daddy is furious. Call me now. You can't throw away your biggest client over a little wine. My mother was just testing you. It's what she does. I turned my phone to silent and took a long shower trying to wash away the evening, along with the lingering smell of wine. Sleep came fitfully interrupted by dreams of laughter and falling from great heights. Morning brought a pounding on my apartment door. Amanda stood in the hallway, still wearing the clothes from last night, her makeup smudged and her expression thunderous. You need to fix this, she demanded, pushing past me into the apartment. Daddy called an emergency meeting with his executive team because of your childish tantrum. It wasn't a tantrum, I replied calmly. It was a business decision. I don't work with people who disrespect me or my background. So my mother threw some wine. Get over it. Do you have any idea what you're throwing away? Our wedding? Your biggest client? What I'm walking away from is a relationship where my fiancée laughs while her mother humiliates me. A business connection where I'm valued for what I provide, but not respected as a person. Amanda's strategy shifted her voice, softening as she moved closer. I was nervous. I didn't know how to react. You know how much I care about you. Do I? Because I'm beginning to think I never really knew you at all. The argument escalated as Amanda's true perspective emerged. You were supposed to be grateful. I even looked at you. Do you know how many men from proper families would kill to be with me? Proper families, I repeated, like yours, where public humiliation is a dinner activity. At least they understand how the world works. You live in this fantasy where hard work and honesty matter more than connections and appearances. As we argued, Amanda's phone chimed repeatedly with notifications. When she finally checked it, her face paled. You actually did it. The termination notice is being reviewed by our legal team right now. I said I would. My word actually means something. You have no idea who you're messing with. Daddy will crush your little company. Maybe. But I'll still be able to look myself in the mirror. The confrontation took an unexpected turn when Amanda's purse spilled open, revealing multiple credit cards I had never seen before. When I questioned her about them, the truth finally emerged. Her monthly spending wasn't just the small allowance she had described to me, but regularly exceeded $100,000, charged across accounts I knew nothing about. You were planning to bring this spending habit into our marriage, I asked, stunned. What did you expect? That I would live like some coupon-clipping housewife just because you have middle-class hang-ups about money? My phone rang with an unfamiliar number that turned out to be Richard Thompson himself. This is a misunderstanding that's gotten out of hand, he began without introduction. Victoria can be abrasive, but surely we can resolve this like businessmen. I don't do business with people who treat others as beneath them, I replied. Listen to me carefully, his voice hardened. Thompson Enterprises has connections with every major corporation in this region. One word from me and your client list will evaporate overnight. Is that what you want? What I want is to work with people who value integrity over intimidation. Apparently that's not Thompson Enterprises. After I ended the call, Amanda delivered her ultimatum. You will apologize to my parents and withdraw the contract termination, or this engagement is over. I walked to the safe in my closet, opened it, and removed the diamond ring from its velvet box. Without a word, I placed it on the coffee table between us. You can't be serious, she whispered, her bravado finally cracking. I've never been more serious about anything. I won't build a life with someone who's ashamed of me, Amanda. She stared at the ring for a long moment before picking it up with trembling fingers. You'll regret this. When your business fails because you were too proud to bend, you'll remember what you threw away. Maybe, but I'd regret staying even more. After Amanda left, The professional backlash began almost immediately. 3 clients with connections to Thompson Enterprises suddenly found reasons to review their contracts. Industry rumors spread about Skyward having security vulnerabilities or service issues. Richard was making good on his threats. The next few months were the most challenging since starting my business. We lost nearly 40% of our revenue between Thompson and the clients they influenced. I had to let go of 4 employees, cut salaries temporarily, and move to a smaller office space. I worked 18-hour days, rebuilding client relationships, and developing a new business strategy focused on mid-sized companies with ethical leadership. Through it all, my parents stood by me. When I finally told them the whole story over dinner at their modest home, my father nodded slowly. "You know what my father told me when I was young," he said. He said, "Rich people have money, but wealthy people have values. Sounds like you dodged a bullet, son." 6 months after the wine-throwing incident, Skyward Solutions had transformed. We were smaller but stronger, with a diverse client base spread across multiple industries. Our new focus on mid-sized businesses with ethical practices had attracted clients who valued relationships over ruthless efficiency, and our reputation for integrity had spread through industry networks. The most unexpected development came from other businesses who had their own negative experiences with Richard Thompson. Marcus Chen, CEO of Vertex Systems, reached out after hearing about our stand against Thompson Enterprises. "Anyone willing to walk away from that kind of money on principle is someone I want to work with," he told me over lunch. Thompson tried to squeeze us on pricing until we nearly went under. "We need an IT partner we can trust." The contract with Vertex was smaller than what we had lost with Thompson, but it represented something more valuable, a relationship built on mutual respect. Similar opportunities followed, including a major contract with Integrated Solutions, Thompson's direct competitor, who appreciated our inside knowledge of their systems. Beyond business recovery, I found purpose in creating a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds. Using my own journey as a blueprint, I developed workshops on business fundamentals, technical skills, and ethical leadership. The program quickly gained support from community organizations and other self-made business owners who shared my belief that talent exists everywhere but opportunity does not. 9 months after our broken engagement, I encountered Richard Thompson at an industry conference in Chicago. I was presenting on cybersecurity for growing businesses when I noticed him in the back row watching with an expression I couldn't quite read. After my talk, he approached as I was gathering my materials. "That was quite informative," he said, the compliment, clearly difficult for him. "Your company seems to have survived our parting of ways." "We did more than survive," I replied evenly. "We found clients who share our values." Richard cleared his throat. "I may have been hasty in my response to our situation. Thompson Enterprises is implementing a new security protocol, and your expertise would be valuable. Perhaps we could discuss rebuilding our professional relationship." I considered his offer, recognizing it for what it was. Not an apology, but an acknowledgement that he had failed to destroy my company as threatened. "I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Thompson, but I'm afraid our company is at capacity with clients who have been with us through challenging times. I couldn't in good conscience deprioritize them now." His face tightened momentarily before he nodded. "I understand. Business is business after all." "No," I corrected him. "Business is about relationships. That's something I learned partly thanks to your family." Before he could respond, I excused myself to speak with other attendees. As I walked away, I felt the final weight of the Thompson saga lifting from my shoulders. Through mutual connections, I heard that Amanda had become engaged to the son of one of her father's business associates, a man with the proper breeding her mother so valued. The diamond was reportedly 3 times the size of the one I had given her. I wished her well mentally, hoping she might find happiness, though I doubted it would come through material wealth alone. My own life had taken an unexpected but welcome turn when I met Sophia at a small business alliance meeting. She had built a sustainable fashion company from scratch, focusing on ethical production and environmental responsibility. Our connection was immediate based on shared experiences of building something meaningful from nothing. My parents thought I was crazy to turn down corporate design jobs, she told me over our first dinner. But I couldn't spend my life creating disposable fashion that ends up in landfills. "You chose purpose over security." I replied. That takes courage. So does walking away from your biggest client on principle, she smiled. That story has made the rounds, you know. Unlike my relationship with Amanda Sophia, and I built our connection on mutual understanding and genuine admiration, she was impressed not by my business success, but by the mentorship program and the values behind it. When I brought her to meet my parents, she insisted on helping my mother in the kitchen and asked my father detailed questions about his career at the auto plant, genuinely interested in his perspective. 1 year after the disastrous dinner at the Thompson Estate, Skyward Solutions had not only recovered but grown in new directions. Our revenue exceeded previous levels with a healthier distribution across diverse clients. The mentorship program had expanded to 3 cities, with Sophia's company offering internships to our most promising participants. Looking back, I realized that having wine thrown in my face at that dinner table was ironically the best thing that could have happened to me. It revealed the truth that had been obscured by Amanda's charm and my own willingness to overlook warning signs. Without that moment of clarity, I might have entered a marriage and business relationship that would have slowly eroded my self-worth and everything I had built. The most valuable lesson wasn't about class differences, or even about standing up for myself. It was about the importance of building both personal and professional relationships on a foundation of mutual respect and shared values. True success isn't measured by contract sizes or bank accounts, but by the ability to remain true to your principles, even when it costs you something. That wine stain on my shirt revealed the true colors of the people around me, and ultimately led me to a life of greater authenticity and fulfillment than I could have imagined. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself against people who look down on you because of your background or circumstances? Share your story in the comments below. If my journey resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult moments. Do not forget to share this video with someone who might need a reminder that their worth is not determined by others' judgments. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most painful rejections lead us exactly where we need to be.